Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Freedom March here on 103.5 FM The Beat Radio. Thank you for joining us on ILTV Studios on Facebook. Thank you for joining us on channel 224 on cable and on channel 112 on Flow TV. I am Levan Miller. Of course, you already know that. There's no need to adjust your television set because I'm not Rodney Munker. And I'm joined in studio with the trusted spiritual advisor who is doing his absolute best to keep me safe as often as he possibly can during my tenure here. Sitting in for Rodney, the spiritual advisor, Mr. Bradley Rule. Spiritual advisor Bradley Rule, how are you this afternoon?
Good, man, good. Good to be here.
Hey, you look new. You look like you didn't work too hard today, did you?
I work, it's just that I just took a shower. That makes
This is
a
what
big difference.
Negroes look like when they take a shower.
Yes.
Okay.
Look fresh.
All right, very good. So there's a whole lot of things happening in the news, spiritual advisor. I see former Deputy Prime Minister Brent Simonette is in the news. That's interesting. It's always interesting to see him in the news. I imagine if I had as much money as
He's
Brent
the money
Simonette,
man.
if I had as much money
He should
as Brent
always be in
Simonette,
the news, man.
I would be so far somewhere on a beach with little senoritas fanning me with a palm branch, very lightly clad on a beach somewhere, possibly in the Maui or in the Maldives or something. I certainly wouldn't be bothering myself with the minutiae of the news and that sort of stuff and the who did what and the what did who.
If you have,
if I have that kind of
if you have $200 million,
yeah, if I had $200 million spiritual advisor,
but this politics.
you would have to call my secretary's secretary to talk to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And so, but it's always interesting when you see these kinds of things, right? Because, you know, Pat Ramming has a song says, they coming out the woodwork just like...
I don't know.
Spiritual advisor.
You know, some of these worldly songs, I don't pay too much attention to.
Pat Ramming said, they coming out the woodwork just like ones.
Okay.
Everybody catching politics just like Jones.
Oh, okay.
And they chasing after sweet things just like fly. All that means is another 5 years just gone by.
Wow.
And so you see the faces. Brian McCartney is out. Brent Simonette is out. Who else will come in? Maybe sometime this week they will find, what was her name? Sherelle Ali McIntosh will probably come
Yeah, well,
out.
Branville has to come out. After all, Dr. Menace and him, there's some kind of family tree they share.
Yeah, so you saying all the Dr. Menace family coming out?
Because Branville is a Nord, right?
Yes.
And Menace is a Nord.
Right.
So they're related.
And you know what? Even though the two of them is a north, the two of them together still can't tell you which way is up. Anyway, don't go anywhere. Thank you for joining us here on Freedom March on 103.5 FM The Beat. I'm Levan Miller. Join the spiritual advisor. We'll be back after this break.
on the headline. But a senior F&M politician telling Eyewitness News today
Thank you for staying with us through the break. Leland Miller, 103.5 FM The Beat. The spiritual advisor is with me in studio. And you know, every day the spiritual advisor does all that he can to keep me as safe as he possibly can. I don't know how well that's working out, but I invite you all to continue to pray for the spiritual advisor as he continues to pray for me, and hopefully we can come to some amicable conclusion with regards to how decent I can continue to be on this show under the spiritual advisor's guidance. So spiritual, tell us today, what does the Holy Scripture have to say, and where are you going to take us in Holy Scripture today?
Yeah, we're going back to understanding God's grace and His favor, not only to the Israelites, who were God's chosen people. I think what most of us miss, and those who are real, true theologians would tell you, that the Israelites were chosen by God because 430 years before the law was given, God made a promise to Abraham, all right, that through his seed, which is Isaac, Christ was going to be funneled through that line. And he says, all nations of the world will be blessed through his seed. He didn't say seeds. The word is not plural. It's singular. And that seed, when we understand fulfillment of prophecy and understand New Testament passages, that seed referred to Christ. So when Christ came, yes, he came through that line. He came to his own, yes. Jesus Christ did come. Salvation is from the Jews. But Jesus, in fact, did state, he says, other sheep that I have that are not of this fold, meaning that the chosen fold. Yeah. He says, I must go and bring them too, so there may be one fold and, of course, one shepherd. So what happened with salvation was funneled through that Jewish line, but it was not only for them. You would actually see that it was, God hoped that the Jews would then in turn take it to the rest of the world, but their rejection ended up kind of changing it somewhat, and we see where Jesus Christ, where John says he came to his own, and his own received him not. And then it opened up and leveled the playing field. But as many. So who's the but as many? But as many as received them, to them he gave the right to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. So listen, they are wrong. Those who tell you that only a few selected folks have been predestined to be saved is completely erroneous. So here's a passage here. Titus chapter 2. Watch this now. Titus chapter 2, 11 through 14. When Jesus Christ came, he came to his own. But then, of course, he also came for the world. And we're going to look at that tomorrow in John 3 and 16. Paul's charge to Titus. He says, for the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions and to live self-control, upright and godly lives in this present age. While we wait for the blessed hope, the appearing of the glory, watch this now, of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. I told people Jesus is God. It confirms it right here. While we wait for the blessed hope and the appearing of the glory of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ, who gave himself for us to redeem us from all wickedness and to purify for himself a people that are his very own, eager to do what is good. Verse 11 is the cliff. For the grace of God has appeared to all people, offering salvation to all people, not just a chosen few, all. This last passage here, and then we'll move on for the day. In Romans 1 and verse number 16, here's the Apostle Paul. All right, the fellow from the Egyptian Coptic church, he don't like the Apostle Paul, you see. But and we're going to look at the credentials of the Apostle Paul as well. But here's the Apostle Paul to the church at Rome. He says, for I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone.
Oh, yes, man, you preaching.
To everyone who believes. To the Jew first, you see it?
Wow.
And also to the Greek.
Wow.
So how could you say that Jesus Christ only came to bring salvation for a few? It says salvation to everyone who believes. So it levels the playing field. It's for all. Of course it's for the Jew first. And also to the Greek. Romans 1, verse 16. I read from the NIV. Oh, that's the ESV. Sorry, thank you so much, producer. The word of God is completely powerful and is always blessed.
Here ends the word of the Lord.
Absolutely. Amen.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Thank you, producer.
Spiritual advisor, is that where the song, bringing in the sheaves, we will come rejoicing. Bringing in.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
It's for all.
Wow.
It's for all. Make no mistake about it.
That is interesting. It is always interesting to get into Holy Scripture and spiritual advisor. I've always said to you that, I don't know, Paul is my guy. If I have two favorite people in the Bible, it would be Peter and Paul, right? Two of possibly the most imperfect people throughout their life's work, who has done all of the things possible to grow the gospel of Christ. And if you look at them, these were the two fellas who had
faults,
tremendous challenges.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Nobody can tell me Peter wasn't a cusser. You could listen to the utterances of Peter and just imagine where the cuss words was supposed to go. And so I'm always fascinated by how Jesus still chose,
absolutely,
the ramblers to take the message of Christianity.
Absolutely. And even though he, I guess before the cock crowed three times, Peter denied Jesus.
Yeah.
And what is interesting is after Jesus Christ came from the dead, he said, listen, I want you to go tell my disciples and Peter. Leaving Peter out.
Yeah. But I also have always argued, spiritual advisor, that the reason why Jesus had to tell that to Peter at the Last Supper, that he was going to deny him, is because Jesus wanted Peter to know that he was aware that only Peter would be there. I argue, this is the gospel according to Leaven now. I argue that the reason only Peter could have denied Jesus was because only Peter one was there. The rest of them boys wasn't there. For fear for their own lives.
Well, of course they did fear for their
fear for their own lives.
But we look at it.
See
what the book says.
I also like to point out to people that if you consider the way the Bible names people, James and John, the son of Zebedee, that obviously means they were the sons of prominent people. Luke was there, he was the physician, he wasn't coming, right? Who else was among them? The only person who had nothing to lose except for his freedom was Peter. And so I believe that Jesus wanted Peter to know that, Peter, I know when the rubber hit the road, you could be the fella that...
Absolutely, and he was the man.
And he was the man.
Yeah, Peter was the man indeed.
So there are many interesting things happening in politics, spiritual advice. I don't know if you're paying attention to the news. All sorts of things are happening. Sarkis' Maurelianus won his appeal before the court.
Yeah.
$1.6 billion. Sarkis, if you're looking for someone to tote the bags for you, I am an expert bag toter.
1.61.
Yeah, and so don't worry about the 1.6. You can just pay me the 0.1. and you'll never have to worry about where your bag is again. I will always be able to point you clearly in the directions of where all your bags are for $1.61 billion. I don't know. I mean,
That's some money.
but
That's some corn.
I will tell you this, spiritual advisor. It means that the man knew all along that the dream that he had was stolen. And for whatever you believe about what happened around the matter, for whatever you believe about the politics that was involved.
Under the Christie administration.
It was the Christie administration.
Yeah.
Right? But I still contend that Christie saved Bahama.
But.
I still contend that Christie saved Bahama. I don't remember now. Don't forget now. Bahama wasn't without its challenges, right?
Yeah.
They lost the two casino partners. Harrius, I think it was. They lost them during the negotiations and the hotel not being able to get up and running. Plus Bahama had many Bahamians hired at very high level salaries. And so Bahama wasn't all bad. When they went into liquidation, of course, the Chinese rescued them, right? But the Chinese rescue Sarkis Marillion from the Chinese. I don't really know how much rescuing that was, right? But Sarkis never lost hope. And the Free National Movement is without fault. You remember the Free National Movement tell the man they can give him the hotel back. The lie detector test determined.
Well, I guess they were trying to do something.
The lie detector test determined.
Well.
That was a lie.
Well.
Because shortly after, the tall fella was up there with the big scissors cutting the ribbon. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember the tall guy with the glasses?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. You could call his name.
But let's not do this, man. All right.
All I'm saying is
He's been
Peter was
awarded.
no better than Paul in this instance.
Yeah, I understand why you're doing it too, right? But guess what? All of this happened under the Christie administration. Let me tell you what I understood happened to Sarkis Marillion. The Chinese are very, very shrewd people.
They're Chinese.
All right. Now I understand there was another project that was going on during this project, and there was a timeline for certain targets or certain phases to be met.
Right.
Workers were moved from this one particular project and sent to that newest project down on Bay Street there, crossroad from where the U.S. Embassy used to be.
Yeah.
What's the name of that?
The Point.
Right. And when they moved those workers were not replaced on Bahama project, and it slowed the work.
Well, I understand there was something.
And caused them to not meet the deadline.
I understand that there was something similar but different, right? So I understand that they had something called change order issues, right? So as you build out in construction, you make a plan. On the plan, there is a scope. On that scope, you have a set of checkpoints that you should make. You meet those checkpoints, you sign off on the project, right? Or sign off on that phase. Along the project, though, you might find issues that either the rock was somewhere you didn't anticipate for it to be, or the steel can't go where you thought it was good. So you have to put in what is called a change order. Those change orders, because there were so many of them based on however they did the measurements and the Chinese and those things caused the project to go behind schedule and cost overruns. That according to the ruling from the court is saying that the Chinese knew that these things weren't possible that they were promising, but yet they were still giving Sarkis these deadlines, and so as a consequence, the Chinese ought to be kind of to blame for what happened to Sarkis being able to meet the deadlines. But, spiritual advisor,
congratulations to him, man.
We shall reap if we faint not. This is a good place.
Happy.
This is a good place for all those people who don't like to read the Bible to incite Jeremiah 29 and 11, right? For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans to prosper you and to bring you to an expected end. That's what it said?
Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So, Sarkis, you got to keep me in the Bible, spiritual.
1.61.
So.
Not million. Billion.
Sarkis, I know the plan I have for you, says the Lord. It is plans to prosper you.
So 1.61 is what? 1 billion.
That's 1,600 million.
10 million.
610 million.
So you say you'll take the 1.1?
I'll take the one, Sarkis, and he will never have to look for his bag again. I'll be able to tell him, see your bag there, Sarkis. That's your bag there. At all material times, 3 o'clock in the morning, out of his sleep, 5 o'clock in the night, out of the limo, no matter where he is, at all material times, I'd be able to give him a bird's eye view of where his bags are. If he lead a bag toting Negro, I certainly would sign up for that immediately. I don't need any assistance, so please don't ask. But, spiritual, this is not the Christie administration. This is the Davis administration. I think that time has passed. And time heals all things, spiritual advisor. This is a new cabinet. There are all sorts of new, bright, intelligent people in this cabinet. Some of them have no knowledge of what happened between Sarkis and the Christie administration.
Okay.
And since it started under Christie, via the Progressive Liberal Party, and he's happened to have this good fortune, not under Christie, but under the Progressive Liberal Party, I say, Chester Cooper, where you is? Chester Cooper, call Sarkis' Marillion and take him to lunch every day this week. Because if a fella got $1.61 billion spiritual advisor,
Yep.
man, we got to could find something for him to do here. And I say, y'all listening? Chester, I know you're a saved man, so you don't pay attention to these kinds of things. So this is a free piece of advice. Y'all don't pay me to be an advisor, but take this. All these Bahamian women around here who finding the $9,500 to go to the Dominican Republic and have Dr. Mangalo cut them open, a doctor that can't speak a teaspoon of English, and they let the little Spanish-speaking doctor put them on anesthesia, and they go sleep. And they don't know if they will ever come back. But somehow they carry their $9,500 and their sister who only got BGCSE and PE. And they go to the Spanish-speaking country and they go there for 10 weeks without a single Spanish-speaking medical person anywhere around them. And they go in these little hotel or hospital, whatever you call them things, and they put their lives on the line. And all I'm saying is, I see that what the people name Moody's? Moody's say the economy finally recovering. The trade war is upon us. You can't keep letting, what Pookie's sister name?
Sakitra.
You can't keep letting Sakitra carry the $9,000 to the DR that doesn't benefit us. Call Sarkis. Tell Sarkis we want to make Grand Bahama the cosmetology enhancement sector of the Western world. We will advertise it to Americans. We will advertise it to the girls from the DR. And we're going to advertise it to all the girls in the Grove, because every single one of them somehow have $9,000 to go to the dorm rep. And we're going to, you listening to me, Chester? And we're going to tell them, we could give you the same bumblebee shape. You could have a waist like a horse. You know the rest? And a backside like a horse. And you could do it with an English-speaking doctor. And if you die, at least you get to die on the beach. With an English-speaking doctor. And where you have loved ones to console you, and we don't have to worry about you coming back in a wooden container trying to get you out of the DR. We don't have to worry about no foreign affairs paperwork, and we can invite all and sundry. Could you imagine spiritual advisor?
To do it in the Bahamas, right?
Yeah, you know the Alukayab hotel they can't get to sell? Turn it into a cosmetic surgery hospital.
Maybe Sarkis could buy that hotel now.
Yes, but don't turn it into no hotel. We ain't need no hotel in Grand Bahama.
I think they're trying to get that up and running, man.
Turn it into, call Dr. Mangalo on the phone, right? Because he obviously good. All the girls know his number somehow. All the Bahamian girls, you see all them look like ants. You know the movie Ants? You
No,
watch the movie?
I haven't seen that, no.
So all of them shaped like the characters of the movie Ants now. That's because all of them going to the same one Spanish-speaking doctor. So you call Dr. Mangalo on the phone and you tell him, hey doc, here's what we need you to do for us. Come to the Bahamas, see Dr. Michael Darville. We work out a little contract with him. He could be the consultant physician because obviously he have the mold that all the Bahamian girls will look like. That and the horsey teeth, right? So we tell him, you are our aunt's body and horsey teeth consultant. And you get him to come and be a consultant. You put him under the Ministry of Health. You tell Sarkis, we ain't want the whole $1 billion. Give us $500 million. You refit this hotel. You make it into a cosmetic surgery.
Business, ain't too many women
What are
into
you
that.
talking about?
No, man.
I see you too safe.
That can't help, man.
Spiritual advisor all along Miami.
Offer Sarkis to buy the hotel in Freeport
And do what
they're
with
trying
it?
to sell.
And do what with
Put
it?
it back on the market, man. Get it up and running.
To do what with it?
Tourist tractors to Freeport.
Why
to
didn't that
Grand
work the
Bahama.
last time?
I don't know. Maybe
Because
they wasn't taking care of
Freeport
the
is
product.
not a tourist destination. You been there?
No, we're turning it into one.
No, I'm trying to help you. So, because don't forget, when Mangalo cut the gals them open, they need 6 weeks to heal. And while they're there for 6 weeks, their sister got to come, even though she only got one BGCSE and PE. And their ma could come now, and they could bring their cousin. And they could stay at the hotel attached to the hospital. You see how I come up with this idea in 2 minutes? You all please have a conversation. Chester, call Sarkis. Anyway, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Hello, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Leland Miller is here on 103.5 FM The Beat. We're also on ILTV Studios on Facebook. We're on channel 224 on cable and channel 112 on Flow TV. Feel free to check us out. That information is only for if you're transitioning from your car to your house, right? Because I find all the time, spiritual advisor, people say, man, I want to watch out when I go in the house. Well, you can watch us. When you come out of your car and you're watching us and you're listening to us on 103.5 The Beat, you go inside your house, and if you got cable, you put on 224. If you got Flow, you put on 112. And we'll be right there. The spiritual advisor and I will be right there once you get on with your cable or your Flow. And if that doesn't work, everyone has their cell phone device in their hand, eh? You can check us out on Facebook because only people that I feel trying to play special to say silly things like, child, I even on Facebook. You know, you don't get like an adult like medal for not being on Facebook, right? Like, there's no special privilege for not being on Facebook. Anyway, some other things that happen in spiritual advice. I see that the Moody's group has actually given the Bahamas a positive rating. Right? Yeah. The Prime Minister, I'm told, said that he wanted to get to this point within 2 to 3 years. Right? My understanding, if my calculation is correct, is that so far we've done about $800 million in borrowing in the last 3 years. Right? But notwithstanding that, it hasn't been the kind of borrowing, if I'm not misunderstanding this information, that we've normally done. So some of the borrowing that we've done has been directly tied to policy. So the government has to agree to do some sort of specific policy, whether I guess it's water projects, etc., in order to get the funding, right? And so to date, there's been about $810 million worth of money.
That's a lot of money, man.
Borrowed, but that's over the period of 3 years.
That's a lot of money.
We have
almost
the ad.
$1 billion.
We have the ad?
I don't see it. Yeah.
Let's go to the ad.
Not it. $810
million.
So where do we see the result of this $810 million?
Well, you should have seen it. Okay, let me tell you what we had so far.
Because the ambulance project has failed.
$200 million was a guaranteed financial something in February of 2002. Then there was a PBL, flexible financing of $160 million. Then there was another one for $400 million in 2003. And then $50 million for the WSC infrastructure investment project in 2025. So far, about $810 million. Let's read the ad.
I don't see anything. Are your dogs hungry and tired of low-quality food? Give them the best and modernistic. We carry all the top brands. Taste of the Wild, Diamond Naturals, Victor, Anuksha, all at the lowest prices in town. If you're on a budget, we've got 50-pound bags starting at just $49. And for a limited time, buy any large bag of dog food and get a $10 coupon redeemable on select dog toys and treats. And if you can't make it in, shop online at www.modernisticgarden.com and we'll deliver right to your door. Your pet deserves quality. Your wallet deserves savings. Shop in store or shop online today. Hurry. Offer won't last. Thank you, producer.
Thank you, Spiritual. And so the PBL loan means that it's a policy-based loan, right? Which the difference is from an investment loan, the PBLs have to be tied to some project or policy, right? That is my understanding of it. Now, you would recall that there was this great fear that we would have to borrow money from the IMF. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And the reason that is a fear is because, as you know, the IMF is alleged to have killed the Jamaican economy with the bauxite industry, etc., etc. And it is alleged to have done irreparable damage to the Bajan economy. And so my understanding is that our government at all material times was doing every single thing in their power, including leveraging our relationship over the time with people that are less volatile with their lending practices like the IDB, to put us in a position to be able to secure financing. And we secured financing from places like the IDB for the WSC project, etc. And the government has ramped up its revenue collection, albeit they have reduced the taxes on VAT. Now that they have more money in revenue collection, they have a less volatile lender. Moody's is now saying that, listen, we are now at a positive projection, and our next fiscal year, we should see some growth.
Should take us to where though?
There should be an upgrade in our rating.
So we're positive right now.
Yes.
Okay.
And so now, what I will say, spiritual, is, there's always been this talk about a sovereign wealth fund. And the question I have for the people that are responsible for this money, and that are responsible for borrowing this money, and that are responsible for leveraging our reputation, is, can we not find a way to give some of that to the Bahamian people? Like, hear me out, walk with me through it, right? If you borrow $810 million, well, you only sell nothing for that. All you sold was the reputation of the Bahamas.
Right.
Well, who is responsible for the reputation of the Bahamas? Bahamians. It means that Bahamians have the capability of generating a society that will earn X amount of dollars per annum. That's what it means, right? And if you're going to build the economy on the backs of the Bahamian people, and you're going to leverage the reputation of the Bahamian people, then when you get the money, why don't you give some of it to the Bahamian people? Now, this seems like standard basic mathematics to me, right? So the voters register, if I'm not mistaken, stands somewhere at about 196,000 people. Somewhere it hovers in that area, right? We could simply make a criteria. And you say, listen, Alaska does this thing with their oil industry, right? Where I think every Alaskan gets like $4,000 a year.
Yeah.
No, I'm lying. They get $1,500 a year because of the oil, which is their sovereign wealth fund, right? $1,500 really isn't a lot of money if you consider it. But if somebody gives you a random $1,500 spiritual advisor,
You'd be happy.
You could pay a bill with it.
You could do something with it, yeah.
Okay, so let's just say out of 800, you're a mathematician?
No.
Just a spiritual advisor.
Math was not.
But I thought you'd been to SAC.
Yeah. Well,
I know these SAC people wasn't all we thought they was could be.
But now, what you trying to do now?
Only one person from SAC I really could talk.
So 810 million divided by what? 410,000.
Yeah, 810 million. Mm-hmm. Let's just say you find, what is 10% 810 million? 81 million?
Yeah.
Okay, so what would be 1% of that?
81 million.
10% 81 million would be 8.1 million. Yes?
810,000.
That's 1%.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1% is 810,000. So 2% would be how much?
1.62 million.
1.62 million. So let's just say we had to separate 1.62 million between all of the legal age adults in the Bahamas who are not incarcerated, who are not living abroad, who are, I don't know, give me one more criteria, spiritual. So you can't be in jail. Mm-hmm. You can't be in America studying nothing or living, no, you have to be living in the Bahamas. Give me one more criteria.
Unemployed?
Well, you only want to give it to the unemployed people. I want some too. What you talking about? No, I want some too. You can't take me off the list.
So how much food?
So let's just say we're talking about
30,000.
No, we'd have to be talking about, give or take, 120,000 people.
1.62, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1.62 million, right?
Mm-hmm. Divided by 120,000 people. It should be like $80 or $60 or something like that.
Divided by 180,000?
120,000.
$900 but then.
$900? I want to tell you something. I buy shares in that port, where the port is, the port over here. I buy shares in that port almost 15 years ago. They ain't pay me $900 yet. But could you imagine that the government of the Bahamas just gives you, and I came up with a fancy name for it as well, spiritual advisor. Because here's the deal. If you're going to have to pay this money back in any event, where are you going to get the money from to pay it back? Bahamians. Mm-hmm. How are you going to get the money to pay it back from them? Taxes. How are they going to earn the taxes? Through working. Well, how are they going to work? Because the economy is going to expand. How will people help the economy if it's a consumer-based economy to expand? By having consumer funds. You disagree with this plan?
Okay.
Right? So we should call it the Sovereign Wealth Debt Accruance Distribution Fund. And scratch this whole sovereign welfare fund thing, because we don't make nothing to have no welfare fund. So the only thing that we could leverage is our ability to borrow money. So it's kind of like if you had a sweetheart spiritual advisor. You wouldn't know anything.
No, I won't know.
So if you had a sweetheart, right? And you take out a loan from the bank for $5,000. Well, naturally, so fans got to get $500 out of this. Because of the things that she contributes to your ability to make money. Same thing with the Bahamas. Just how tourism is a product, Fisheries is a product. Banking and investment is a product. Those things make money. The Bahamian people and what they contribute to the economy is a product. And because that is the only physical, tangible product that we have, I say give us back 2% or whatever you all borrow. Just give it to Bahamians. Because that money will go right back in the economy.
Well, yeah, I mean, for some of them, I guess.
Well, where you can get yours.
Some of them going to Miami.
You can't carry $900 to Miami, spiritual.
Well, people just do it.
So you do that, right? You got the sovereign wealth debt accruance distribution fund. You get your $900. You say yours going to Miami. I ain't fooling with you. Shakisha, who won't go right to Freeport, Casacas build the cosmetic hospital. Now have a $900.
$900
She have the consultancy fee though. So she could spend her $900 in Freeport consulting at the little hospital, right? She ain't got to worry about carrying her $9,500 out of the country either. So we get to save that in the economy. And then I say on top of that, you just nationalize the coconut, nationalize the avocado, and nationalize the hairy mango. You have avocado trees in your yard, spiritual?
No.
You have friends with avocado trees?
Of course.
How many avocados do they give you every year? More than you can eat.
Yeah, more
than you can eat.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that even with all the avocados they give you, they still got too much. We can't eat all of these. We don't have the population for it. And since they look at it ain't going extinct, and you could grow a new pear tree every 5 years, nationalize it. And then everyone in the Bahamas will have a yard full of coconut, hairy mango, and avocado trees. And now you got something you could collect, I don't know, $1,000 off a year to go along with your $900 a year. And now you got 1 month's salary that you collect every year from the government of the Bahamas.
Well, this sounds like a brilliant idea. Let's see if the government buys it. I mean, you know.
But I'm saying you can't, okay, if the Bahamian people struggled with you through all those years of junk status, right? When it was, we doing bad, we tree negative B rating, and I would also say this to the government now. Now, you can't throw confetti in the air when Moody's say you're doing good. But when Moody's say you're doing bad, you say things like, don't listen to Moody's. No, you can't. No, you got to decide if you want the baby and the bad water, or whether you don't want the baby or the bad water. But you can't have the two. You can't have the two, spiritual. Either we just listen to Moody's, right? Or we could listen to people like Gilbert Morris and don't listen to Moody's, and then you can't celebrate when Moody's say you have a positive rating. So of the 810 million, spiritual advisor, you should have then collect $900 in your sovereign debt accruance wealth fund. And at least you wouldn't feel bad about it, because they'd be able to prove, well, you get something with the deal, spiritual. You can't be mad. I can't be mad. Pookie can't be mad. Pookie might even be eligible because he may be in Fox Hill a year. Which then increases your 900 to
810 million. How many people did you say want to benefit from this?
About 120,000.
Oh, sorry. 810 million. Let's see.
2%.
2% of that?
Which you say is 1.62 million.
That's 16,200,000.
Can't be 16 million.
810 million, 2% of that?
Yeah. Should be 1.62 million or something like that. And then you take that and you divide it by 120,000 people. And that's what the 120,000 people should get out of the $810 million.
Okay, $810 million.
As a direct, no strings attached benefit. But until such time, we could just celebrate the fact that we are no longer...
2% of 810 million?
Yeah. Should be $1.62 million.
No, sir, 16,200,000.
That don't sound right.
Yeah, what you mean?
That's not like 20%. That don't sound right.
2%. 810 million times 2% is 16,200,000. 16 million? Yeah.
That's Google say that.
No, I did it. 810.
Yeah, I trust you.
Yeah, somebody double check this for me, please. 810 million.
Right. 10% of 800 million is
2% of that is 16 million.
$16 million?
Yeah, 16 million 200,000.
But you even make the numbers better, spiritual.
Yeah.
That don't sound like 2% to me, but I don't know. I failed the maths PGCSE 4 times, so don't ask me no maths question.
16 million 200,000.
Albeit I will say, can I add the spiritual advisor? Albeit I will say, you all people who passed the maths PGCSE, I ain't listening to nothing you all tell me, because maths tell me that all angles in maths have an opposite angle. And so a circle have two halves that is called a radius or something like that, which divides the circle in two, right? The diameter and the radius. Then you have a 90-degree angle, which divides that line into two, right? And then you have an obtuse angle, which is a big angle, and you have an acute angle, which is a small angle, and you have a right angle. Then y'all mathematicians tell me why the hell maths don't have no left angle. Spiritual. these people say maths perfect, right? So if maths have a big angle, maths have a small angle, maths have a circle, maths have a half a circle.
A right angle.
Maths have a right angle. Why maths don't have no left angle? You all help me with that, mathematicians. You didn't get this number yet, spiritual? Oh boy. Someone please just text spiritual advisor what is 2% of the $810 million.
It's got to be 16,200,000.
Okay, so divide that number by 120,000.
So you get $135, look like.
$135? Mm-hmm. That number going down, spiritual?
810. What's going on with this?
I don't know.
Yeah, 810 million.
I suspect
2% of that is 16,200,000.
And then you divide that by 120,000.
So 16,200,000 divided by 120,000?
Yeah.
$135.
So you get your $135. Spiritual tell you all $900 the first time. So
Yeah.
you can't listen to- only listen to him when you talk with the Bible, all right? So anyway, let's get to the story about Brent Simonet. I see Brent Simonet is in the news saying that Hubert Minnis missed an opportunity to leave public life. I think Brent is being disingenuous, spiritual advisor. Let's go to the facts. The facts are the last prime minister with a speech in the parliament on the hands out of the house as a farewell speech is none other than Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinling. Ingram doesn't have one. If you remember, they maneuvered the house rules around him. Kendall Major sat at the chair.
Yeah, but Ingram
never put that speech on the record.
It was never put on the record?
Well, he certainly never
He
spoke in the
resigned in
house.
Seat Nabago, you know.
When he resigned after the election, that never went on the record of the house. It was never read in the house.
Oh, okay.
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 Christie ain't never make it back to the house to read no farewell speech. You remember that? So you don't think Christie missed his chance to exit frontline politics? I don't have a clue what Brent Simonet is talking about.
So what is he saying? I honestly, I don't know the story.
Mother Pratt, as the first female deputy prime minister and first, what is the word I'm looking for? The first definitive acting female prime minister, she has no farewell speech on the record of the House because Alvin Smith maneuvered the rules of the House around Mother Pratt. So what is Brent Simonet talking about? Anyway, let's go to the news clip, Mr. Producer.
Theo, with former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis not getting the Free National Movement's ratification as the party's next candidate for the Kalani Constituency Association, a former cabinet minister under his administration suggests that he might have missed the ideal time to exit public life.
When a leader, and especially a prime minister, takes you into a general election and loses, the tradition is he finds a relevant time to retire.
Former cabinet minister under the Minnis-led administration, Brent Simonet, pointing to the precedents in political history that he believes former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis should have followed as his political career now hangs in the balance. His comments come as Dr. Minnis' tenure as the FNM's representative for Killarney is officially winding down.
I've also asked him to share his views on who he believes might be a suitable replacement for him in Killarney.
Simonet says the Minnis-led administration's resounding defeat in the 2021 general election draws parallels to how former Prime Ministers Hubert Ingram and Perry Christie lost in the previous elections. The difference is both men immediately ended their journeys in public life. On the other hand, Dr. Minnis was quite adamant about staying in politics. In fact, he contested for the FNM's leadership in 2024, but was trounced.
I would have thought against that background, the obvious course of action was to take the statesmanly way, as Pinling did, and Ingram did, and others did, and retire from frontline politics.
And that is a lie. Let's check the facts, man. Ingram lost when? 2007? That was when they gave it to Tommy then?
92 to 2000.
No. Ingram lost in 2002, which was when he gave it to Tommy Lewis.
It did 10 years.
Right? Tommy Turnquest and Dion folks get the daylight speed out of them in 2002. Well, Ingram didn't resign or retire then. Ingram was still the member of parliament for North Abaco. You agree? Ingham came back triumphant in 2007. He was prime minister until 2012. Right?
And that was it for him.
At which time, the Progressive Liberal Party obliterated the Free National Movement. Ingham came to the parliament that day to give his farewell speech. Kendall Major maneuvered the rules of the House of Assembly. Ingham never put that speech onto the hands out of the parliament. Shortly after, if you remember, with water in his eyes, he announced his resignation from the North Abaco seat. That was when they picked the worst candidate on a string I had ever seen in the place what's his name, Greg Gomez? The boy who was an evangelist, a teacher, a pastor. He wasn't sure what his wife's name was. He wasn't sure which day he born. And Candia James Lodge took about 1 million holes into this candidacy.
I don't remember.
Okay. Let's go to Mr. Christie. Christie lost the election of 2007. And no one in that party was even man enough to consider seriously contesting Christie. Paul Moss, I think, put up a competition against Christie in the convention. And Christie blew that kite out of the sky with a single shot. Christie's career ended the careers politically, the political aspirations of people like Obi, Shane, Fred, who else was in there? Virginia's Ignatius. None of them contested Christie, not even Brave Davis. That is how Brave became the deputy leader of the party. Christie then went to election in 2017 against a novice politician in Dr. Hubert Minnis, thinking he had chalk, and a rookie threw him out of the house after 40 years in public life. Never to have his farewell speech read on the record of the House. So what is Brent Sumner talking about? And while it is quite common in the Westminster system for prime ministers to accept defeat at the poll as a message from the people that nobody wants them, these Negroes around here, they will hold on to power until their demise. What is Brent Sumner talking about? As a matter of fact, the only person that has resigned or retired from public service in the last 40 years that I've been a human being is Brent Sumner. Everybody else leaves exactly the way my Carl them leaving. They don't intend to run again. And nobody intended to see them run again. We even don't want to see them running on Bahama Boulevard for their health. Talk about running in an election. So what is Brent Sumner talking about? Leadership in the Bahamas never resigns. They never retire. They never go anywhere. You have to beat them out of public office. That is what happened to Ingham. That is what happened to Christie. That is, well, Mother Pratt didn't get beat out of public office, but they maneuvered the rules of the House of Assembly around her as well. And she has no farewell speech on the record of the House of Assembly. Go check it. So I don't understand what the hoo-ha is about. Dr. Minnis, don't listen to Brent Sumner. Listen to me. What to do when the parliament comes back April end? You resign your seat. Then you trigger a by-election. And you make Michael Pintard, what do you name, Clifton? You make Cliffy prove that he could win an election. Because he hasn't proven that he could win anything. He hasn't proven that he has what it takes. He get the daylight speed out of him in West End with a far better candidate. Isn't it funny that we have a candidate that won in West End that sits in the cabinet and someone like me still struggles to remember the guy's name? He named Kingsley Smith though, that's his name. I remember it now. I know I didn't Google it. But if I don't remember Kingsley's name, you think Pookie know Kingsley's name? It's because he wasn't the best candidate ever. And remember Shane Gibson wanted to run in West End? That didn't happen.
Right.
But could you imagine if we had run a Shane Gibson against Michael Pintard? Dr. Ricardo Grant or Pastor Ricardo Grant may have got 6 votes. They put up half a candidate against Ricardo and get the daylight speed out of them with Michael as the leader. So if Minnis resigns his seat in Kalani, spiritual advisor, jumps on this whatever this thing is Lincoln Doors got going on, recontests the seat as the COI standard bearer in Kalani. If I was Brave Davis, I wouldn't even get in the middle of that. As a matter of fact, I'd take a line from Ingham and say, here we have a wonderful test case. Here we have 2 men that want to be leader. But I tell them you can't just want lead. You got to win first. And that is the gospel according to Hubert Alexander Ingham. And if it was good enough for Renwood Wells and Cassius Stewart, who is on his 4th political party now, or 3.5 since he's back with the FNM, if it was good enough for them down there in their league, then I think this is a perfect test case for the Prime Minister to not get in the middle of that. And if Minister running Kalani as a COI, and if Michael Clifton Pinter had one contest him, with who, they don't even have a candidate, with whomever their candidate will be, imagine the vortex spiritual advisor that Minister's absence from Kalani now creates in the candidates pool. Who will replace a former sitting Prime Minister? Who will replace a 20-year member of Parliament? And certainly, which candidate wants to go and run against him? Michael, you know about difficult spots because you talked about being put in the difficult spots against Christie and Philip Davis. So who will you sacrifice in Kalani? I tell Minister, don't resign the seat and contest it as a COI in May or June of this year. Anyway, you hear the jingle, don't go anywhere. The spiritual advisors here at me, we'll be right back. Welcome back to ILTV Studios, Freedom March. Levan Miller sitting in for Rodney Munka, joined with the spiritual advisor. We're talking politics today, of course. It's because it's fun and it is exciting. This is actually my favorite time. You know, I wish we could reduce the election cycles to 4 years, spiritual advisor. I don't want to wait 5 years, so that every 2.5 years it could be politics time again. Because other than that, what really happens around here? Nothing. Pookie them in the news every day, crashing up a bunch of car and motorbike and killing people in the road, and I don't be into too much of that. But when the politics starts again, it's just, it provides such a euphoria in the air.
I
And
guess
people
for
could
some
be
folks,
excited.
I hate the politics, to be honest.
What do you do during this time, Spiritual?
Just chill, man.
No, there are
I'm
events.
just a Bible person.
There are events galore. And besides, you have to go into the highway and the byway. So we create highways and byways for you to go into, spiritual advisor.
Listen, one thing I've found it over the years, for those people who are steeped in politics, you have to catch them at a different time. You cannot try to catch them during the political season, because they are not into the kingdom at all.
No.
Their mindset is focused on elections and who they think would be the best to govern the country.
Wow.
You know, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. I don't like politics, to be
So
honest.
we went into the break talking about Dr. Minnis and what his options are. You've heard my suggestion to him. He don't pay me for advice. He don't pay me for advice. But if he was to pay me for advice, my advice to him would be, get one bunch of black t-shirts. You see I wear a black shirt yesterday, I wear a black shirt today, spiritual advisor, because I trying to inspire Dr. Minnis to go dig up the black shirt he had on the We March. You know, when him and Darkwing Duck convinced us that this was about something bigger than politics, right? That was before they were saving pizzerias in the nighttime. That was such a funny story, by the way. I remember when
The
they
march
showed me
downtown with all the black t-shirts.
Yeah, the one I started.
Headed by that lawyer.
You know that I was a part of the group of people that
So
actually
who's the lawyer
formulated
who's
that.
leading that?
I don't want to call his name.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently he doesn't like when people call his name. But I would call him Darkwing Duck. I would do that because that's my pet name for him, because of his incident in the local establishment where he. No, let me finish telling you about the kung fu fighting thing where the fellas was slashing and dashing and all that other stuff. It was an interesting story, and so I feel like he was a superhero. I can't think about a better superhero than that one, right? Because he's the Cape Crusader at night times, right? But I will tell you this, spiritual advisor, Dr. Minnis has something that neither Christie or Ingram has. And that is, he still has an opportunity to give a farewell speech. None of them have that opportunity anymore in their lives. It will never happen for them again. And so Minnis could give a farewell speech in April, at the end of April, and resign from his ideology in the FNM. And say, because I have distanced myself from the practices of this organization, because I no longer can identify this organization at its core, because I simply no longer recognize this organization. I am resigning today as a matter of principle. And because of the principled man that I am moving away from them, and so they cannot use it against me, I'm giving them back the seat they claim they gave to me. And so today, I resign my seat as the Member of Parliament for Kalani. And then you resign, and people come outside and they hug you and they all sing, what they sing when people resign? The storm is over, right? And then you let them re-announce you as the candidate for the COI in Kalani. And when you win, you come back like Tom Brady. Because you know Tom Brady retired twice, right? He retired and unretired and then retire again.
Yeah.
So you come back like Tom Brady and you just retire twice. But if you lose, at least you already have your farewell speech on the record. Anyway, so I also see that there's more cleaning up going on in the inner city. Dr. Minnis, that's my advice to you. I see there's cleaning up going on in the inner city. Take us to the news clip, Mr. Producer, about the cleaning up in the inner city with the removal of the derelict cars, spiritual advisor. We want to go to the birthday shout-outs first?
Oh, yeah, I think we had one.
We have one?
Yeah, we got one birthday.
Let's check out the birthday shout-outs and then we'll go to the news clip.
Let's see. We got one birthday to do.
Okay.
And that's happy birthday to the one and only Santiago Line Jr.
Santiago Line.
Yeah. So, Mr. Theo Line, happy birthday to you, coming from your family and friends. All the best. They hope you live to enjoy many, many more. So happy birthday, Theo. All right, great.
All right, there you have it. So, Mr. Producer, take us to the clip. I see in Angliston they're doing some removal of derelict vehicles and that sort of stuff. I commend the effort, but I think we have to get deeper into what is the root of that problem. Let's go to the clip And
Meantime, government's Clear Hold and Build initiative still taking shape in the Montel Heights community as police officials target open lots that have been used as a haven for derelict vehicles. It has become a vexing issue for Montel Heights residents who say the proliferation of abandoned vehicles has created an eyesore in their community. Through Bow Avenue, to be exact, over 12 vehicles were removed from a property that was also a mountain of filth.
What you see is an accumulation of garbage, derelict vehicles that have been accumulated over the years. We've had numerous complaints about this particular property, and so we saw it fit to come in here this morning. From this morning we were at it, clean up the property and make sure that it does not reoccur, because we've had one too many complaints about this property. We've had so far over 15 vehicles that have been removed off of this property, and we're still not completed. What you see happening in the background is that we have a team of persons. The derelict vehicles have been removed, and then now we have a team of persons who are removing the garbage off of the property that have been accumulated over the years. So it's an ongoing process. It is a collective initiative that we have going on here in Montel Heights. The residents are relieved because we've had, as I mentioned, too many complaints with regards to this property.
yeah, and so 15 derelict cars, listen to what she said, removed from one property.
Wow.
That is unconscionable.
That's
That is unimaginable, right? But it is not unusual, spiritual advisor, in those kinds of places. And so I say to the Minister of Finance, I say to the Prime Minister, and I say to his Minister of State, Michael Alcides, I think it is time to ban the Japanese vehicle. What say you?
No, I
spiritual advisor?
don't know if you want to do that.
Why not? What criteria do they meet?
Well,
What safety criteria do they meet?
I don't know if
They're not crash rated. Very few of them have emissions ratings. They aren't impact rated. So how are they feasible for commute in a city like Nassau?
No. The Japanese cars are perfect for us to get around. We got small roads and
Yeah, in Bimini.
It's the whole.
So how about we
small.
don't ban them in Bimini and Harbour Island?
The main issue with the Japanese vehicles is that they're affordable. That's the issue. All right, the average
Affordability
person,
is a matter of taxation, spiritual advisor.
the average person can afford those cars.
And that's the problem. The average
and it
person
makes
shouldn't
sense.
have a car. The average person shouldn't have a car. No. Wow, nothing. If you do not make a certain amount of money, you shouldn't have a car because you cannot maintain the car. And then you end up with a lot that got 15 cars on it.
Yeah, but Japanese vehicles are very much easy to maintain. I think the issue with those over the years has been parts.
And you know why?
Bringing in the parts from where they
Well, then that
came
means
from.
they ain't easy to maintain, spiritual advisor. You can't say, the one
No,
side of
we
your mouth
just-
that they're
no,
easy
no,
to
no.
maintain,
Listen,
but the
listen.
next side of your mouth.
All I'm saying is
parts
that the
hard to
people who
find.
have the Japanese cars can't afford to maintain them. I think what has been the issue over the years is that there is no distributor who has the volume to bring in these parts from Japan so that the parts can be replaced.
I could think about.
And that's why all these cars end up on the side of the road.
I could think about my friend right now who has a wonderful Japanese part supply store
Okay.
that is never.
I think it's changed
out
over
of
the years.
parts.
Yeah, it's
The
changed over the
problem
years.
is the part. Firstly, the parts are not the right weight. They are too light. That's why they keep going airborne. It ain't, you don't think it's unusual that all of these Japanese cars could park up on top of signs and things like that? It's because they're not heavy enough. That's one. Two, the parts are superficial parts. So you are going to change inner tie rod, outer tie rod, lower control, steering rack. You're going to change one of them a year in that vehicle because the wear and tear of the roads in Nassau is more than these vehicles can handle. They're not for everyday drive up and down, stop and go traffic. They are for if you live in Lyford Key and you need to make your little zip runs around an area like Lyford Key, you get one of those. To drive it up and down East Street and Bay Street and God help you if you go on East Bay Street because Jesus, you almost need a war tank to drive on that. The car cannot handle it. And so we've reached the point, spiritual advisor, where we just have to bite the bullet and ban the Japanese vehicle.
Okay, so which vehicles you want Bahamians to be able to buy?
But they could buy anything else, American, European, What I'm saying is, I actually know these people.
You can't be serious.
I know these people. Are those people having birthdays? They are.
Yeah.
So, the Japanese market has to go away. And I think the Minister of Finance, in his wisdom, in an effort to provide relief to the Bahamian people who will say that it is a rich man policy, once a year, so let's just say the last 2 months before the budget closes, so April and May, you allow people to bring in brand new cars duty free, and you allow them to bring cars 0 to 5 years at 5%, and anything 5 years and above, you bring it in at 10%. That way, the average earning person could afford a car, because affordability is only a matter of taxation, spiritual advisor.
All right.
But you will have cars that have emissions tests. You'll have cars that are impact tests. You will have cars that have crash ratings. As it stands right now, the Japanese market doesn't provide that.
Okay.
And so when the lower control arm fall out, and according to you can't find the lower control arm, you know what you do? You park your car on this property here in Monte Lights. When the radiator bursts because you was in an accident, because you knocked down Brownie, the car can't take that because the car don't have no front bumper bar. So when you hit Brownie, the plastic bumper, burst the radiator, according to you, we can't find the radiator. You know what you do? You park your car on this piece of property right here in Monte Lights.
All right, so this is the reason why the Japanese people send these cars to the Caribbean then.
They send it here because we keep buying it.
They offloading them over here. Okay.
They send it here because we keep buying it. I'm saying to you, though, that we have reached our fill with this. We have these Japanese cars falling apart over here. Have you seen them?
Yeah,
this is the
they're all
first
over the
time
place.
in my life that we've had this many junkyards. In my life.
Well, on the other hand, what we can do is have them crushed and sent away for metal.
Agreed, but that
That's another industry that's been
that
created.
have to be step 2 of the process. So step 1 is over the next 7 years, we phasing these out of our society. So if you got one, treat it like an antique. Don't drive it around, cover it up with a canvas, because this is the last one you will have. So we banning these, or we taking the tariff up on them to 300%. You only want one that bad. And we're gonna require you, especially with, there's this big trade war going on, right? And I don't know why these people don't understand. Donald Trump is a man that likes his ego massage. You massage his ego. He says he likes American engineering. You tell him, boy, Donald, we believe you so much. Only thing we won't buy is American cars. And now you bring those cars to the Bahamas that can withstand Bahamian roads, that can take you see the amount of traumatic accidents we have in these vehicles. I saw an accident, and I apologize if it's too fresh, where literally the woman is pinned under this car that apparently flipped over because the roof of this car is completely smashed in, spiritual advisor. We've got to ban these substandard, I call them disposable vehicles, spiritual advisor. We simply cannot pretend like that isn't a necessity any further. And I want the Prime Minister to hear me. Now, you asked me yesterday about his PLP, yes?
There's a lot of spin-offs with this, though, to ban Japanese vehicles.
What would the spin-off be? We're doing it in the name of saving Bahamian lives.
All I can tell you is this, right? When you look at all the economics behind purchasing vehicles, all right, when the Japanese vehicles were initially introduced to the country,
they were $1,800 cars.
It changed the life of a lot of people. They were able to afford cars, all right? And of course, that had some effects.
Yeah, it killed the public transportation industry.
Yeah, positive, negative effects.
Correct.
But for the most part, the average person can save
spiritual
$5,000.
advisor, the average person shouldn't have a car.
Yeah, but I mean, come on.
You could tell from the driving.
Why deprive people?
Because that is the way society
of a
is
basic
work.
necessity.
That is not a basic necessity.
Number one, we don't have a proper busing
The
system.
IDB said
We have a
access
terrible
to
bus
public
system in this country.
transportation is a basic necessity. That's the IDB.
Yeah, but anyhow, you know what? I would rather have or buy a Japanese car than to get on the public service bus where they got the speakers.
I detest that statement.
Where they got the speakers.
I detest that
Just
statement.
Give me a second. Where they got the speakers In front of the hood, they're blaring for the outside public, and they got the speakers on the inside. The whole back seat is woofers and tweeters all over the place, and they blaring the music while you're in the bus. It's like, who tell you I won't listen to that kind
I
of
detest
music?
that statement. They don't
Right?
catch that one and report that one to the controller of road traffic.
They need to pass a law for these bus drivers who believe that it's okay for them to blare their music.
There is a law.
Why I'm trying to catch a ride to go to work.
But there is a law.
And I can't.
But there is a law. And all you need to do is get that plate number and you report. See, Bahamians want to have no buy-in.
I'd rather save, I'll be able to save $5,000.
Right, and then you run your uninsured car because you can't afford to license this car. No. You can't afford to insure this car. And when you run your car into my car, right, now I gotta beat you up in the road because that's the only recourse I will have. You don't have no money to be on this car. You're driving a car around with a bunch of ball tires on it. No two of these tires on your car match.
Japanese cars ain't only cars with ball tires. I think that's a weak argument.
I'm saying
I don't know how many Bahamians.
People that if you say to me that the only car you could afford is a Paso or a Note, it is a clear indication.
Hey.
If that is the only car you can afford, you probably do not need a car at this time.
The Honda Fit is a beautiful car. It has power steering, power windows, power brakes, power mirrors, everything power.
And they need to
for $6,000.
And they need to put it in a power compactor, crush it up, and send it back to Japan.
Listen, I have clients in Life that drives Honda Fit, all right?
Yes, and if you let people do ignorance, they will do so willfully. That doesn't make it sense, spiritual advisor.
Anyhow.
It is a matter at this point. It is a matter of public safety. Are you driving on the streets of Nassau with these people in these little Japanese cars?
Let me tell you.
The Jap nation must come to an end.
Yeah, the Japanese cars are very affordable. They're very economical, and they're
also very
best
disposable.
For the streets.
They're very disposable. And so when you mash up my Mercedes, with your $2 car, that you could just park right in the same. Think about this. If these cars had any value, you think 15 of them would be parked in the yard? That tells you that they're disposable vehicles.
Listen. I don't know if you're going to...
I'm willing to bet a Land Rover ain't parked in the yard.
But they are parks other places, though.
I'm willing to bet a S500 ain't parked in the yard.
That particular yard, I understand the mechanic owned that yard. Those cars have been piling up there for years.
And the fact that you can leave your car in the mechanic yard means your car has no material value to you, spiritual advisor?
It doesn't mean that always.
Oh, boy.
Banning Japanese cars is going to be extremely difficult.
I want them to ban it.
You will not find this particular government here, you will not find them doing that.
7 years.
Because the Japanese cars helps the average man. And that's who helps the government win the election.
It can't be because the reason the road traffic policy was changed is because they changed it for these same Japanese people. The reason why they have you need to have your driver's license, you need to have they mean these same Negroes in the Japanese vehicle. The fella who driving his S500 do not drive that uninsured. The fella in his Silverado 2500 do not drive that uninsured. The people they mean is the fellas Pookie them on the Krypton. And what Pookie's sister name? Shakisha?
Yeah.
Shakisha in the Honda Fit, spiritual advisor, that a married man probably buy for her. And that's the only way she could afford it because the married man give it to her as a gift and he ain't give her nothing else. So now the car is not only a depreciating asset, it's a depreciating asset with no maintenance budget. You ever notice how 70% of them sound like John Canoe driving up the road?
Anyhow.
We need to ban them, spiritual advisor. I say,
they're affordable.
Davis, you asked me yesterday if I was PLP, yes? Well, if the PLP want me to be PLP all the way, it'll be that one time now. It ain't be twice. Just that one time I can be PLP all the way. I'll say it for them in a commercial and all, right? Ban these Japanese cars. That's what I want from them. So, Bacchus, when you come to my door, let me tell you what I want. I want you to tell Philip to ban the Japanese cars. If you could bring me proof that you did that, then I don't know. I guess I'm not allowed to talk about South Beach. Spiritual advisor. But we have to ban them at some point.
So currently right now, you cannot bring in any vehicle.
Over 10 years.
Right. And
that don't help us.
And that's simply because insurance companies, right?
No, man, that's the law. They made that law like Leslie Miller was the Minister of Trade and Industry when that came about. But I'm saying to you.
So then just remove that law and you'll be able to bring in some antiques.
No, we could just ban the Japanese car. We could just ban first of all, no car beneath the weight of a Toyota Yaris should even be allowed on the road because they're just too easy to flip over. They don't have enough weight to stay on the ground. The problem with the Paso and the Note and the Cube, the reason they flip over so much is because they're not heavy enough.
That's not true.
Oh, boy.
They flip over because people are driving them properly.
I know what is he? A AEC certified crash inspector. I'll have him give you a call, and he will confirm for you that the reason why these cars are subjected to the kind of damage that they're subjected to is because they don't meet any standard. They don't meet any of the standards, and that's why Bahamian people are dying in these cars, spiritual advisor. And are you suggesting to me
they're
that
not handling them
affordability-
properly? They're just not doing the way. I mean, they're driving these vehicles the way they're supposed to be driven. That's all.
First of all, you could tell that the cars are disposable by the way the people drive them. Because only someone in a disposable vehicle would drive it in this manner.
Yeah, but there's right way and wrong with the drive vehicle, man. You know, I mean, it is what it is. So if you drive reckless, then what do you expect?
Yes, but if your car is disposable and you have no actual affinity to that vehicle, you will drive it like a lunatic. And that is what we see on the roads. Oh boy, I'm not gonna win this one with the spiritual advice. I say ban the Japanese vehicles. So if you want to buy Sophans a car, go and buy Sophans a Honda Civic or Honda Accord. Or what else spiritual advice? What else you buy for Sophans?
Yeah, but you're looking at $30,000, $40,000.
Where do you live? How? Buy Sophans a Kia. What's the thing name? You know what I mean. Anyway, let's get to the last story for the day. So the Office of the Prime Minister has issued several statements surrounding the controversial contract allocation list, spiritual advisor. And at first they were saying that, no, everything looked normal and there was nothing out of place there. But I understand that the Director of Communications has come back and has since said, no, there was an administrative error.
They're going to put a pause on that.
And that they're pausing that contract.
You know, this is crazy. This is ludicrous. You can't get $50,000 passed unless you get cabinet approval.
Agreed.
You cannot
Especially if you got the wrong. If you got the wrong person in your account, you might can't get $50.
So who was trying to even after review trying to push $183 million through without cabinet approval? I mean,
but you can't say push through if you say that it was stopped for revision. Obviously, it was being reviewed.
Well, somebody was trying to do something.
But obviously there was jurisprudence. There was due diligence. There was judicious behavior. That is a jurisprudence. I think that one may be out of context. But there was judicious behavior. There was pragmatism, and all these things applied if you contend that it had been stopped for review.
But there's no approval on it.
Precisely.
No approval.
So someone somewhere was watching. What would trouble my heart is if this thing was already approved and the money was already in the contractor bank account, and that there had never been any, foretelling of this, right? I'll tell you what bothers me a little more, though. What bothers me a little bit more is that a list with that kind of information could find its way into the public domain, spiritual advisor. This is still a non-carry state.
This is crazy.
You agree? So if Bradley Roll had access, because yes, the $183 million for political mischief or for whatever other reason is something that we ought to know. Fine. But what about Bradley Roll that secured a $2.1 million contract? And so now people know he's a millionaire. How are we protecting Bradley Roll's life? How are we permitting Bradley Roll to protect his own life? And I'll tell you something that even troubles me worse than that, spiritual advisor. Can you guess? I might not be concerned about crime happening to you because you might be a fella that never leaves your house. But imagine after many years of building your company, after much sweat and sacrifice, after leveraging your family's freedom and financial freedom on your business idea.
There's not much you can do with that, though.
But now the junglist know you got $2.1 million and she needs something out of that $2.1 million.
There's nothing you can do.
We have to protect you from her.
Yeah, that's all right.
And the best way to do it is to not let people know.
Don't have no junglist.
Everybody needs one. Everyone needs one. Right? So now the junglist know you got the money and now she could ask. Ah, boy. Anyway, this is Freedom March. I'm Leland Miller here with the Spiritual Advisor. We'll be right back after the break.
This segment of Freedom March. This segment of Freedom March is brought to you by Modernistic Garden and Pet Supply. For top quality dog food, shop online at modernisticgarden.com or visit our Palmdale, Carmichael, and Mullet Marathon locations today.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Leland Miller is here on 103.5 The Beat FM. The spiritual advisor is here in studio keeping me safe. We're on ILTV Studios on Facebook. We're on 224 on cable. We're on 112 on Flow TV. Spiritual advisor, I think we've got some more ads, eh?
Yeah, so your dog's hungry and tired of low-quality food? Give them the best at Modernistic. We carry all the top brands, Taste of the Wild, Diamond Naturals, Victor, and Nutric, at the lowest prices in town. If you're on a budget, we've got 50-pound bags starting at just $49. And for a limited time, buy any large bag of dog food and get a $10 coupon redeemable on select dog toys and treats. If you can't make it in, shop online at www.modernisticgarden.com and we'll deliver right to your door. Your pet deserves quality, your wallet deserves savings. Shop in store or shop online today. Hurry, offer won't last.
Thank you very much, spiritual advisor. So on the break, we were talking about the list that leaked from the office of the Prime Minister. I think we're supposed to talk to Tanya soon. So if whenever she gets there, producer, let me know. But I find it very difficult to accept that these kinds of pieces of information leak, spiritual advisor, from places like the office of the Prime Minister that do things like let people know how much money a common man like Bradley Rule now has access to. And I think it is a matter of security. And I think we ought to.
So you want to keep the amount from the public space, but you wanted the contract. You want people to know that this contract has been awarded.
Yes,
but not the value of the contract.
And I will tell you that, and I will tell you why. Right? Sometimes it's good to know who got the contract, right? Because, you know, I recently did some work with some people, and I tell people all the time, when we did that project, we didn't only just pick an industry professional, we picked an industry perfectionist. So you could go and check the quality of work and see that it is par excellence, right? So I don't have a difficulty with people knowing who the contractor was. I have a difficulty with people knowing how much the contract was, because like I say, now you give the commissioner of police more work to do.
So you think they're going to be a target? The
commissioner of police is busy out in fire in Freeport. How can she keep Bradley Roll safe? This country don't like when people protect themselves with firearms. So how is Bradley Roll going to keep Bradley Roll safe? It's not going to happen. And if Bradley Roll could keep himself safe from Pookie, can Bradley Roll keep himself safe from the junglist? I argue that he cannot, because the junglists are now going to target him, and now this poor man is going to be dragged down the road of lustful temptation at the hands of a money-grabbing junglist.
You want to do these birthdays, producer?
Let's do the birthdays. We can do the birthdays.
Let's do them.
And then we'll open the phone.
And the number to send birthdays is still the same, right? 323-7775. Folks, don't forget, if you have birthdays and you want to send them, the number to actually send them to is 323-7775. You have to save this number in your phone. It is a WhatsApp number. Once you send it through, the producer will get what you have through. Okay? So where am I, producer? I'm trying to find you.
I've got one. You want me to use
Go
my
ahead.
own?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so little Dakari Williams. Dakari Williams, I hope I get that name correct. People naming their children interesting names these days, but as far as I can read, this say Dakari. So I hope I get that right. Dakari Williams. It is his 8th birthday today. His father, Dario Williams, sends him a shout out right here on Freedom March. Little Dakari, 8 years old today, is being shout out on his birthday by his daddy, Dario Williams. You've got yours?
Yes, to warn Hannah, we'd like to send a happy birthday shout out to granddaughter, to warn Hannah. It's coming from grandparents, Geraldine and Edmund Lewis and family. So happy birthday to warn Hannah. Naomi Lewis, happy birthday to little sister Naomi Lewis. It's coming from her husband, Pastor Wendell Lewis, and of course the
I know these
Mellors
people.
family.
I know these people.
Related to you?
Yeah, that's my auntie. That's my daddy's sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And doesn't she look so resplendent? Such a wonderful sunflower, eh?
Interesting. I can't see it from here though.
Just take my word for it.
Okay. Kenroy Miller.
I know that person. That's my daddy's brother.
Really?
Yes, I'm not making this stuff up.
That's your uncle. So
But that's what they tell me when I reach.
So happy birthday to brother
Yeah.
Kenroy Miller. It's coming from the Miller's family. All
Indeed.
the best to you. They hope you live to enjoy many, many more.
Wow.
All right. We had the opening.
We open the phone
Lines,
lines, producer?
yeah.
Let's go to the phone lines.
Yeah. 323-777-5 is the number to call. 698-0775, 698-0776. Please don't forget the birthday line is that line as well. 323-777-5.
And put up the ad for Rodney. He's home, convalescing. He's in good spirits. He's happy to get back to the revolution, I'm advised. He says that the Freedom March must continue, but until such time that he returns, he solicits not only your prayers, but also your support, and you can assist Rodney Munker. If you're listening to me by radio, the number is 700-300-5072. Again, I repeat, the number is 700-300-5072. And the transit number for that account is 21103. And that is the Commonwealth Bank, and it is at the Oaksfield branch. Please feel free to lend him your support with your prayers, eh? So the number to call today, 323-7775. Is that correct, spiritual advisor?
Yeah, 323-7775.
Please feel free to give us a call. Maybe they could help us or tell us how to survive the junglist after your name come out on the list, spiritual. Because that's what I'm very concerned about.
Well, I'm not concerned.
I am very
about
concerned.
The junglist. That's for fellows who worldly. So my concern
No,
would never be that.
spiritual. The junglists have problems. She need money. She now knows that Bradley Roll has the money. She now goes to figure out
she
who
can't
is
get it
Bradley
from me.
Roll.
She can't get it
So
from
when she
me.
come to you, she can say, Mr. Bradley, please, give me some money. You're not going to say no, spiritual, because she know you have the money.
We got 3 calls. Hold it.
Let's take the calls.
Yeah, welcome to Freedom March Call. You're live.
No, how you gentlemen doing, Mr. Miller?
I'm well. How are you?
Spiritual writer.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Miller. Mm-hmm. How you doing, sir?
I feel okay. If something happened to me, I know yet.
Okay. I know you're very educated, right? But now you gotta look at the little poor people living now, so who gotta get a car? You realize, you have ladies and people gotta go to work 4 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. Do you have any bus that you can pick up these people to go to work 4 o'clock in the morning?
You know what they need? They
And
need
they
a
gotta
taxi.
they have to pick up their children.
Yeah, they need a taxi. They need a taxi. When I lived in Fort Leonard Wood, I used to go up the road to the little titty bar and stay there till 4:30 in the morning. And you know how I used to get home?
You was
taxi.
fortunate.
No, what was fortunate about
Some
it?
people is only got to do a through draw to buy a little bubbler.
And that's why they shouldn't have one.
To get on the road and back and forth to pick up their children.
But that's why they
When they get
shouldn't
off
have
2
one.
o'clock in the
If
day.
you take your whole ASU drawer caller and spend it on a car, the car is probably going to come with a lifespan left of about 60%. That means in about 2 months, this car needs the service. And when you can't service the car,
Mr. Miller, it depends on how you take care of your car and service your car.
I want Jobed Colby Davis to put a little bit more brain power into how will we fix the taxi system. See, they keep talking about the omnibus system and I keep telling people the omnibus system fits the culture. It's the taxi culture that needs to change. When I used to go out hooliganizing, or is it hooliganisming? Whichever one of those two things I was doing, the taxi brought me home in Fort Leonard Wood. And that only cost me $4.
Take them the days back.
What days back? I just went there in 2013.
You have children you got to pick up with 2 and 3 different schools.
Yes.
You got to look at that.
Yes, and the taxi will take you to do all of
people
that.
have children in one school here, one school there.
Caller, if the taxi, remember now, allegedly we give out 1,500 plate. That's what we still alleging, spiritual?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
So if we allegedly give out 1,500 plates, caller, why couldn't we create such a robust taxi network that you could catch a ride in a taxi anywhere you need to get in Nassau And not until you need to go in either fast transit or somewhere particular or specific, you need to take the bus, like if you're going into downtown or whatever else you would take the public bus for.
See, I understand that Japanese cars, right? I understand that part, but some people abuse them.
That's
They
all it
abuse
is.
the cars.
That's
all
why
it
you
is.
have to ban it. You have to save people from themselves sometime, caller.
All right, let's go to the next call. Thank you so much, caller. Welcome to Freedom March Call. You're live.
Yeah, hi, Brother Ian, Mr. Miller. How y'all doing?
Good.
And well,
Okay, Mr. Miller,
Present.
I just want to congratulate you on a beautiful show that you're speaking about. No Creole, no Donald Trump, everything educational, what's happening in our country,
Donald.
right?
I like Donald, though.
And to top it off, Michael Pentat is no prime minister material. And I want to let you, spiritual advisor, know. Because spiritual advisor, you say you've been to St. Augustine. And now Mr. Miller educating you with all these things, what you don't know about. What happened to your St. Augustine education, what you have? What, Mr. Miller?
as relates to what?
You're doing a
Hold on a
very
second,
good
caller.
job.
What?
Hold on a second, caller. You're talking about politics? You're talking about politics?
And what's going on in our country.
Yeah, you're talking about politics,
and you're
right?
doing a great job. Thanks again, Mr. Miller. Keep it up.
All right.
I think the spiritual advice is quite rare. There are things that I've learned.
I just don't like politics.
There are things that I've learned sitting at this desk from the spiritual advisor. I have to admit that it hasn't even been that long, and he's poured into me. So information is, as much as I don't really like SAC people, the spiritual advisor has been here doing a wonderful job. Only Charlotte Hour, and by extension, on your role, I accept them as two tolerable SAC people. Everybody else, you got to get in the line. I ain't sure about you, because Dr. Minnis been the SAC. Hello, caller, you're on Freedom March.
Welcome to
Caller,
Freedom.
yeah?
Welcome to Freedom March, caller. We lost that call. Sorry, you can call back. Welcome to Freedom March, call. You're live.
It's
We going-
Tanya?
Yeah.
Hey, Tanya.
Good afternoon, spiritual advisor, and good afternoon, Mr. Miller. It's your girl Tanya coming to you live from Shop Smart Department Store, your miracle right here on Mackey, where we say we're here for you for whatever season of your life and for everyday living. And we are in the Easter season, and we want you to know that we've taken the hassle out of Easter shopping for you. We have got our ready-made Easter baskets. We've got them in the Nerf. We've got them in the Hot Wheels. We've got them in the Peeps. We've got all of the firefighters. We've got the balls. And I want you to know that all of these Easter baskets are 50% off. The ready-made Easter baskets are 50% off. Now, not only do we have the ready-made Easter basket, but by now everybody should know that Shop Smart has all of the eggs. You can get your 48-count eggs for only $5. You can get a 12-count egg for $1. You can come and get all of your Easter grasses, and those are going to be 25% off. All of your Easter bunnies, you need to get those Easter bunnies. You come on into Shop Smart and get your bunnies, and you can get them at 25% off. Now you say you're still doing your Easter decor. That's okay. Just come on in and get your Easter decor. They are also 25% off. But if you're looking for little goodies to put in the Easter basket, and you're looking for all of your Peeps and light up items, you can come on here to Shop Smart. We have got you covered with all of your little light up things. You can come and get them here at Shop Smart. They are all 25% off. So if you need the eggs that are filled, we have got them. 25% off. Shop Smart, your miracle on Mackey. We are here for you for whatever season of your life. And Easter is no different. Where you coming on in and getting yourself your discount.
48 count and 12 count for you. I put it right on the board.
Shop Smart is open Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. for your shopping convenience, or you can now come on in and get your items, or you can give us